All right, also wrapping up here in Vegas. Got to leave for the airport soon, so just wanted to check in with the daily video today. And I was reading this book, The History of Money, and it was going more in depth into the Roman Empire and how they started clipping coins or debasing their money to fund the empire and its expansion. And they gave a stat here, which was that wheat that sold for one half a denarius in the 2nd century increased to 100 denarii a century later, a 200-fold increase. And we're seeing the exact same thing today. And people won't necessarily see that parallel, but if you're watching this channel, you will. And it's the same thing, right? The debasement of the currency, right? To fund the empire and keep expanding and keep, stealing other people's resources, basically. They had to keep paying the army more and more. And even when they don't have, an increase in production, well, then you could just clip the coins. So it's cheaper to issue even more money. And you just make people deal with the higher prices, right? Those prices will rise forever. And so I just listened to Jeff Booth's conversation from the Bitcoin conference, and the cornerstone of his work and what I really resonate with what he talks about is there's two things that are true at the same time. And one of those things is that a credit-based monetary system, right, where the supply of money increases forever, where money is credit, right, money is debt. In that system, right, credit has to expand forever, and inflation is the natural state of that economy. And another thing that's also true at the same time is that deflation is the natural state of free markets, of capitalism. And so us in Bitcoin, we're existing in this world where we see one thing as true, right? Things should be getting cheaper. We're becoming more automated, right? AI is automating all of these jobs and reducing the need for so much labor. We should be experiencing so much abundance, right? Everything's becoming easier to create. But with the credit-based monetary system, the natural state of that is the money expanding forever. So we're existing in this world where, both people are correct, right? People who see the debt-based monetary system and, don't see as many problems with it maybe, or they just deal with it, or they don't understand Bitcoin and sound money principles, right? That is true to them, right? The monetary system, you do have to keep printing money to keep it running, or it's going to implode on itself. And us Bitcoiners, we are also correct that deflation is the natural state of free markets, right? As humans, we could become increasingly better at automating nearly everything. Everything becomes easier, cheaper, more abundant. So why isn't everything getting cheaper? Right? And it's such a strange place to be in where both of these views are technically correct. And yeah, we just have to bridge the gap and, keep promoting Bitcoin education and sound money principles. And the same thing has been happening throughout history, right? It's the same thing. We print money, devalue the money to fund, fiat empires, right? We keep issuing debt to, assert dominance over other nations. So it's definitely an interesting parallel, and, I'm curious to hear anyone else's thoughts on how we bridge this gap, how we move forward. But yeah, it's so important. And, you definitely feel a sense of grief, of the abundance that everyone should be experiencing with so much amazing new technology and innovations. But life keeps getting harder. It keeps getting more expensive. And no one questions why that is the case. They have completely resigned to the fact that that's the case. And, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. What they see isn't necessarily false, but they just don't know that there's a solution, there's a better alternative, there's a better system. And if you have money with 21 million scarce units that no one can replicate, then that does become the natural state. It becomes deflation, right? Like, as Bitcoiners, it seems so abundantly obvious, but it's not to most people. So that's why education is so important, and that's why I'm here talking about it. So I got to get going to the airport, heading back home after Vegas. It was a good time overall, I would say, but yeah, I'll see you next time. As always, together, let's work, save, and build a better future with Bitcoin.